Hi Capricorns, welcome to your May 2019 Astrology 33 reading. You have a Celtic Cross spread in front of us as always. You got a lot of extra cards that came up there. And then usually I go and use 2 Oracle decks at the end to tie everything together. You got an extra card in each of those decks, and then we also have a Mudra card to get to. So tons of cards to get through. Like I said, let's just get started with the main spread, going through one by one. In the main situation, we have the King of Swords. So this is actually an Aquarius energy. That would represent your second house. So this could just be pointing to you dealing with an Aquarius or possibly any other air sign for that matter. Or with this being related to second house, this could also be issues around finances and self-worth. So let's say it's finances, maybe this is the energy you're taking on regarding your finances. Maybe you're being very logical and making cuts, being a little strict with your budget, trimming things out here and there, really making sure, taking a lot of time to get fine detail and make sure you know where every dollar is going. Maybe moving some money around, reinvesting stuff. But for others of you, this could definitely represent the person and an energy that you're dealing with. And if that's the case, the energy that they're putting out this month, they might seem a bit standoffish. They might seem almost, a little bit cold, very calculating. And this could be someone that actually you're looking to start a romantic relationship with. So, maybe you're just not sure how they feel about you. Maybe they're very closed off about their feelings. The reason why I say that it could be a romantic relationship is because in the challenger obstacle position, we have the Lovers. So, that could clearly mean that would mean that the challenger obstacle is for you to get a relationship off the ground with this person, right? This is actually a Gemini card as well, so that could be just be pointing to the fact that it's a Gemini that you're dealing with, that you might be having some issues with right now. We do have Mars in the sign of Gemini too, and that's your 6th house. So if we look at it that way, this could be someone in your workplace. It could be a boss that you feel maybe they're being very cold and calculating right now. Maybe they're being very strict with you, like, okay, you have to do things this way. Maybe they're setting very strict rules or really keeping an eye on what you're doing, really, looking over your work very carefully and making sure there's no mistakes. It could just be one of those situations. In the foundation position, we have the King of Wands. So this actually could represent Leo energy normally. And for you guys, Leo, that's actually your 8th house. So notice there's the 2nd and 8th house axis at play here. And while there's technically nothing going on in those signs in particular right now, that could just be pointing that there's a heavy focus around that area of your life right now. So you could just be doing some definite reorganization around your finances. Let's say, I'd say this is probably a bit unlikely of a scenario as far as what I'm looking at right now, but with the Lovers in a challenge position, could even represent you possibly splitting with someone, so now you have to rearrange your finances, right? Maybe it was someone not necessarily married to, but maybe it was someone you were living with for a while, you were living together, maybe now you guys have split up. And now you're like, okay, well, now we have to split our resources up, Okay, maybe you had a joint banking account together, for example. Now you have to go back and say, all right, well, this was my money, this was your money, we're splitting that up. Closing the account out. Maybe that's the issues that you're dealing with around that. But again, if this is just workplace dynamics too, with 2 fixed energies on the table, and you being a cardinal energy, could just be like they're thwarting your movement. Like you might feel like you have some goals you have in mind or some things that you want to put in place, but you feel like they're stopping you from making those moves. And maybe that's what the 9 of Wands at the bottom of the deck is pointing to. You feel like you're just around every corner, you try to make progress, and you feel like these people are thwarting your progress in some way, shape, or form. Alright, in the past position, we have the High Priestess, the Nine of Cups, and the Hermit card. So kind of an interesting mixture here, but what I would say is if this isn't the type of person you were dealing with, alright, let's look at this a few ways. First thing that comes to mind is maybe you went to someone, for example, maybe you went to see a psychic or you got a tarot reading with someone, right? And maybe it was regarding, happiness, right? Maybe like, all right, well, this is what I want. What can I do to get it, right? And maybe they gave you that message, and now you know what work you have to put in order to achieve that happiness that you're seeking. But what came through for me more likely, right now you guys have Jupiter in your 12th house. It recently turned retrograde. And maybe that's having you review, on an intuitive level. 12th house is that inner work, basically, inner thoughts. And this, to me, I view this as a Piscean type energy, too. And Pisces is the natural ruler of the 12th house. So with this here, I would say that maybe some of you really just been thinking about what would make you happy, like, okay, especially if you're in a workplace environment like I was describing, where you feel like around every corner you turn, whatever work you're trying to get done, they're thwarting your progress. They're like, no, you can't do it this way. Well, we understand you're doing it this way, but the rule is you have to do it this way. This toxic workplace dynamics, which we encounter sometimes in life. And now, you figured out, you really went inward to see, all right, well, what do I need to do here? What do I need to do in order for me to get the happiness that I want? And now you figured it out, right, with the Hermit. That involves just inward reflection, just like the High Priestess does as well. But at a certain point with the Hermit card, you're like, okay, I know what I have to do. I'm going to put in the work. And this actually represents the ninth house for you guys too. So this could even represent that, maybe some of you decided, all right, you know what, in this current career path I'm on, this is as far as I can get, right? I'm in an environment that's unsupportive for the vision that I have. So maybe with that representing the ninth house, maybe some of you decided, you know what, I have to go back to school. This is as far as I can get right now. I have to get a better degree or additional certifications to get any more progress from this point. All right, in the present position, a bunch of cards here too. We have the Ace of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles, the Three of Wands, and the Judgment card. So can this be related to this? Definitely. Maybe you got a new creative idea about how to move forward, right? Maybe it is definitely what you were going to go back to school. So maybe like, all right, I have to save up X amount of dollars, right? I have to put in my application to see if I get accepted. And okay, yes, now you're actually, you receive word that you are going to be accepted, and maybe you'll be starting, summer semester or maybe in the fall. And that's the news that you got, right? If it's not related to that, this could just be saying that upon you going through that, maybe you decided, you know what, this was a career path that I thought was right for me. It's not working out. Maybe you go back to something that you used to do in the past. Maybe you go back to a line of work where you're like, you know what, I was happier when I was at that old job, right? So now you're like, all right, well, I'm going to put in my resume, right, for this type of job, and you're just waiting to hear word, and then you get word. So now you're back to doing something that you used to do in the past, and you're going back to it. That's certainly a possibility too. You guys have the South Node moving through your sign right now. I mean, along with another, you also have Pluto and Saturn there, but South Node transits can help you get rid of things that no longer serve you, but they could also bring things back around that maybe you didn't utilize in the way you should have or could have in the past. So either way, that could definitely be playing out. But yeah, and then let's say on a romance level, right? This could be you wanting to make a love offer to someone, who's very independent, a very independent energy, successful in their own right. Someone you might have had your eye on for a long time. Maybe you make the offer to them, and now you're just waiting to hear back from them. Do they accept the offer? Do they not accept it, right? And it could even be someone you've been with in the past, given that we have the Judgment card here. And another way that could play out if it's romantic offers too is to say this is just an idea. You have an idea that you want to make a move on this person, right? You know that they're single right now and you're just waiting for just the right timing, right? You're like, okay, this is the waiting for your ships to come in energy, which could say that you're waiting for them to make a move, but the way I'm viewing it more is that if this is a scenario that vibes with you, it's just more that you're waiting for the right timing to try to get things off the ground with them again. All right. In the near future position, we have the Two of Pentacles and the Five of Wands. So, again, this brings me back to the potential workplace dynamics. Like I was saying, maybe you're just in a really toxic work environment where you might feel like the money you're making isn't even worth the drama that you're going through, right? Maybe it's a very competitive field. Maybe it's like, let's say, maybe it's some kind of commission-based job, or, if not flat out commission, just whatever. In some way, shape, or form, the more deals you close, let's say, the more pay you would end up getting, right? So maybe you're dealing with people who are very established, right? Maybe you're the new one. Maybe that's what that ninth house energy is about too. Maybe you recently graduated and you're new to the job and you have some people who've been there forever and you're trying to, get them to help you out, to show you the ropes, and they're being really, non-cooperative, because in their eyes they're like, well, no, if we teach him everything, then he's going to cut into our money, or she's going to cut into our money, right? So maybe that's why they're being standoffish. So you're like, okay, well, I'm not getting the support I need here, right? So I'm barely making ends meet in this really competitive field. Like, what am I doing? Why did I even bother getting into this, right? Another way this could be playing out too, though, is to say that you could be, maybe you have plans to enter into a very competitive field and you're just trying to figure out, well, how am I going to make that happen? How am I going to throw my name into the ring and say, all right, well, how am I going to stand out, right? So maybe that's part of what the Ace of Cups energy is about. Like, okay, if I'm going to do this, if I'm really going to commit to this, how am I going to stand out from everyone else who's also doing the same thing, right? And the position of your influence in the situation, we have the Eight of Wands. So to me, this looks like you're definitely ready to make moves in some way, shape, or form. This could represent communication, starting a bunch of new things at once. So let's say if this was a job situation, right, where maybe you left, so now maybe this is you just throwing out a bunch of applications everywhere. Like, okay, I have to get out of this job environment, it's toxic. Let me see what else is out there, right? Maybe that's what those 8 wands represent. Maybe you just apply to a ton of different jobs. You're like, okay, I have to get out of here, And this could just represent a lot of communication coming your way in general, too. There was a lot of craziness going on in Pisces with the retrogrades going on, and it was making Mercury was making some tough aspects in that process as well. And Pisces being your third house of communication, now that all that energy is finally clearing up, I think Venus is. I think at the time I'm recording this, Venus just got into Aries. I'm recording this on the 21st. So yeah, I think it might have just moved into Aries. So at this point, I think all of the Pisces energy is now, it's pretty much done. Just Neptune's left there. So maybe that's helped clear up your communication now. Maybe there are some things in limbo. Maybe that's what this is referring to as well. Maybe. And that could have even been what this was too. Maybe this was a job that you were very excited about, But maybe in the retrograde situation, there was some miscommunication. So now maybe there's someone being very, they're very much a letter of the law with you, right? They're like, oh, okay, well, we see you gave us these 9 documents, but we needed the 10th document too. Or, oh, on page 20, you didn't put your initials, so now we need to send this back to you. You need to sign it and then send it back to us. Could be like a bunch of red tape type stuff that you're dealing with. Like, great, so now I have to go redo all this stuff, and you're feeling a little bit held up in the process. Definitely getting some kind of vibe of just holdups and people just making things difficult for you when there's actually no need for them to. That's the main vibe that I'm getting there. Now you're having to, you know, go out of your way to do all these extra things for no good reason. In the position of the environment's influence on the situation, we have the Ace of Pentacles, the Ten of Pentacles, and the Five of Swords. So, Five of Swords, a little bit worse than the Five of Wands energy. What's coming to my mind here with this is to say, watch who you're trusting in your environment. Whether, like I said, if it's a boss or something, or just maybe these fellow coworkers, you're all in the same position, let's say, but, maybe you're the new one in the position and you're trying to learn from them, right? And then they might steer you in the wrong direction somewhat. Because, like I said, especially if it's a job where the more deals you lock in as a person, you get individually rewarded for it. So, maybe they might purposely tell you, oh, yeah, you should pursue this, right? And they know it's a dead end, but they're doing that because they give you the impression, oh, yeah, if you pursue this, you could get X amount of dollars, blah, blah, blah. And they know that they're really sending you down the wrong path, but it's just because that's the cutthroat mentality that they have. And just in general too, if you're in a position, if this is, like I said, some creative idea that you have and maybe you're trying to get something off the ground, be careful about who you tell those plans to, right? Because maybe that's what that Ace of Pentacles represents. You're like, oh, okay, I have this idea, a really good idea. Like I said, if you were going to go into a competitive field and you're looking for a way to stand out, you're like, oh, I got this really good idea. This is what I can do to help me stand out, and it should really help out my finances, right? And maybe you share that with the wrong person, and now they're like, oh, okay, and they basically go steal your idea, more or less. So yeah, given that you have the Five of Swords here in the environment and the Five of Wands in the near future, and they're both tied with Pentacle energy, I would say definitely in regard to finances, watch who you're telling what you have, what you're planning to get, how you're planning to get it, just for the time being anyway, because that's a little weird. This seems like there's definitely something shady going on. Alright, in the hopes or fears position, we have the Hanged Man in reverse. So it looks like it's in the upright, because, when it actually is upright, the person's upside down. So for me, to have that come up in reverse in the hopes or fears position, I would say it's probably more of a fear. Maybe you're fearing, like, okay, you're not able to look at something from a different angle. You might, again, going back to that feeling stuck energy, you might be like, all right, I'm trying to look at things from a different angle to figure out a way forward, and nothing's adding up, right? That could be what's going on there. You could just feel like, all right, I've looked at this from every possible angle, and I can't figure out how to move forward, right? So that could be what's going on there, especially because in the outcome, there's an energy that supports that might be how you're feeling. Because in the outcome position, we have the Two of Swords, which is to say, still not necessarily ready or able to make a decision about something. So, like I said, this could be career paths you're deciding on. Do I go back to school? Do I not go back to school? Which school do I go to, right? There definitely seems to be some kind of duality going on in that regard, and just feeling a little held up. But I feel it's not just you, saying that it's not just all in your head that you're getting yourself stuck. I feel like there are people in your environment who are actually adding to the difficulty, So, like I said, if you can, just try to really keep to yourself a bit this month. Because I don't necessarily see that you can't be successful, but I do see that it looks like the quieter you can be about what your moves are going to be, what your plans are, the better off you would be, unfortunately. It sucks to feel like you're in that energy where you might not feel like you can trust anyone, but at least for this month, that's really a vibe that I'm getting. So, kind of a weird reading. Hopefully there's so many oracle cards, so hopefully they'll shed some more light on what's going on there too. But hopefully this resonates for you. This might be one of those where it's almost like a very specific reading for a few of you, and then for others of you, you're like, what is this guy even talking about right now? And if that's the case, I'm kind of with you. I'm more with you on the what am I talking about than knowing exactly what's going on here. So if that makes you feel any better. But yeah, the first oracle card you guys got was Clean It Up in reverse. So let me just show you the artwork in the upright. There we go. And the number is 21. So what happens with this deck, when the cards come up in the reverse, they have like what's called a protection message. So normally in the upright there's a few different messages to read. When it comes up in the reverse, there's just one protection message they refer to it as. So we'll read that, see what it says. Hopefully it adds some more detail to what's going on here. Okay, as it says, is it possible you may be focusing too much on other people right now? Trying too hard to be helpful? Does taking on what belongs to others make you feel needed or desired? Perhaps you think it's your calling to relieve people of their burdens, but what is the cost to you and to them? Don't clean up someone else's side of the street. You're not helping by freeing him or her of responsibility. You're also not doing yourself any favors, and you just might be adding an even greater strain. You are loved as you are. You don't need to be needed to be loved. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe there are people in your environment that know that they could get something out of you, right? Maybe that's what it's coming down to. Like maybe they're saying to you, oh, I could really use some help with this, right? And they're giving you an impression that, let's say that they're swamped with work, right? Oh, Capricorn, could you help me do this, right? So then you end up taking on all these things. Meanwhile, they're relaxing. They're not even playing their part, but they just gave you the impression that, oh yeah, I have so much going on right now. Could you help? Knowing that you would take it on, right? And maybe that's what this Nine of Wands energy at the bottom of the deck represents too. That you've taken on a lot and you're just exhausted. You're like, you feel worn down, right? That could be just the vibe that you have right now. Like people just keep piling stuff on. And then worse than that, they don't even necessarily need it. It's just that they know that you'll do it for them. So they might come to you like, oh yeah, I really need your help with this. And then this is your energy, right? You're trying to juggle your work and someone else's work. So something to keep in mind there. So hopefully you got something out of that message. The next card you got from that deck was the Between Worlds card. There's the artwork for it, and the number for this one is 3. So we'll take a look at this next. Alright, it says essential meanings, transitions, not being quite out of one situation and fully engaged in another, temporary blindness, no man's land. So not being quite out of one situation and fully engaged in another. That was one of the theories I was saying, was like saying maybe you're just like, I have to get out of this job, right? So maybe that's what the Two of Pentacles represent. You're trying to get out of one, but you're trying to do something else to sustain your money in the meantime. Like I said, some of you may be even trying to go back to school, right? Because you're like, okay, well, you're starting to realize that the job you're in is a bit of a dead end. You're not going to get any further than you are right now. So you're like, well, I got to do something. So maybe that's what that Between Worlds energy represents. It says, the Oracle's message, between the worlds is where you must let go of the tendency to make assumptions. This is a time when you are unable to see what is ahead. Cultivate curiosity and trust the process of change and growth. You are done learning the lessons of recent experiences. In this place, between what was and what will be, is a state of making and unmaking and making again. What is essential now is to admit not knowing. There is great freedom and power to be unleashed. A mystery that is not yours to understand weaves the web of life within a divine matrix of consciousness greater than your own thoughts, feelings, beliefs, desires, and decisions. The seeds that were planted in the past begin to take root, but what surfaces will probably not be what you expect. When you are between the worlds, you are invited to see with the curious eyes of a child glimpsing a rainbow for the first time. Do so and you will not be disappointed. Well, that was like a really long message, but hopefully you guys got something from that. The next one we have is the relationship message. It says, "This is a time to explore the new energy between you and another. It is not a moment for certainty, but rather for discovery and curiosity. You don't yet know if this will last forever, so allow yourself to explore who you are and what is reflected back to you. This relationship is meant to educate you about yourself. What do you need? What do you like or dislike? What values are important to you? You are in a critical phase of your relationship that is not to be dismissed or hurried." Right, well, that was an interesting one there, too. And, maybe that's like I was saying with that lover's energy. Maybe there's someone that you're dealing with, maybe they feel like it seems like they're very standoffish with you, right? And you're having trouble gaining traction with them, but, maybe there's a reason for that process, which is to say, okay, well, now I know this is something I will put up with, this is something I won't put up with, so on and so forth, which I feel is an energy that a lot of people are looking over with the recent full moon that we had in Libra. So maybe that energy is just carrying over for you in that regard. The prosperity message says, "In your work, sometimes you try things that have worked for others, hoping that you too will be successful. When this symbol appears, it reminds you that sometimes the path to your prosperity is a gamble. Win or lose, you can learn much from what comes of your wager. It's a good time to bet on your skills and talents in new and different arenas. Remain curious, and with the right combination of timing and luck, you will stumble upon something golden that will be unlike anything you've known before." And another thought just came to my mind when I was reading that message, actually. So let me say it before I forget it again. But yeah. These cards, too. If this is you're applying to a new employer, right? Maybe this is saying that they give you the impression that they're going to give you, oh, we're going to give you so much money, right? They make this outlandish offer, or even just, the job posting itself might make it sound like, oh, you're going to make so much money, right? And they know that that's not the case, you know what I mean? Like, so if they don't directly lie to you about it, maybe it's like one of those things where maybe, again, it's another quote-unquote performance-based job where they offer you, they tell you, oh yeah, this is what you can make, but like the chances of anyone in that position making that money are super slim, but to them they might make it sound like, oh yeah, you can make, so let's say each of these represent 10,000, yeah, you can make $100,000 doing this job, when they know realistically you're probably at best going to make like 50, you know what I mean? This is one of those things where they really embellish how it sounds on their end, and then if you're overly eager to just get a job and you're like, oh yeah, I'll take it, something to keep in mind there too. That just popped in my head randomly, so hopefully you got something from that. Alright, so next Oracle deck, you got another one that came up in reverse here, actually. And it was Wasp Spirit, so let me just turn it up right. It says, "Sometimes life stings." There's the artwork for it, and the number is 64, so let's take a look at that. And same as the other deck, since it was in reverse, there's a protection message, so we'll read that. It says, "Are you holding on to anger, jealousy, or resentment because you got stung? Or could you have just stung yourself by comparing yourself to others? There will always be someone else who is more successful, happier, thinner, richer, etc. Jealousy is the false belief that you can't have what you want, or someone could take away something that was supposed to be yours. Let it go and release all those feelings that are making the sting hurt long after the stinger has been removed. Lost spirit has woken you up, and now you are called to trust that disappointment can lead you to a different and better path. Align with spirit now and trust that this too shall pass and is already doing so, for the pain subsides when you stop telling the story of how much it hurt. So that's an interesting one there too. Maybe that's saying that maybe that's the energy that you're in now, because maybe you feel like someone did take something that was yours. Maybe they got a promotion that you felt you should have gotten, maybe something along those lines. And to an extent, maybe that's the case, right? Maybe that's where that Nine of Wands energy is coming from at the bottom of the deck, whatever. Maybe that's saying that, that's how it should have played out, because now maybe down the line you end up with something far better. Saying that, all this time you were thinking, oh, I really wanted this, something even better comes along, All right, and the other card you got was Parrot Spirit. It says, watch your words. There's the artwork for it, and the number for this one's 45. So let's see what that has to say. All right, it says, what are you saying to yourself? What message are you repeating? Is it something that makes you feel good about yourself and reminds you of your strengths and potentials? Parrots mimic the sounds around them, and when parrot spirit appears, it is time to be more mindful of your self-talk and its qualities. What do you say to others? Are you repeating what you truly believe? Remembering to speak with light and love can become a habit. Be generous with compliments and thanks, affirming all that is good so that your loving, healing words will be heard throughout the jungle, cutting through the noise and inspiring others. Listen for the words that remind you of all the strength, abundance, and joy in your life and in the world around you, and then repeat them, affirming what is real, true, and nurturing to the soul. The universe will reflect back to you the story you tell. Words matter, so choose ones that lift you up and inspire others to remember that beauty surrounds us. So the main thing that I got from that in that regard is to say, maybe if you do find that this environment you're in is kind of toxic for you, because it does make you think more negatively, right? And it does make you feel inadequate, let's say, right? Because like I said, maybe these are people who have been in the job that you're in for years and you're brand new and you're trying to get them to be helpful and show you the ropes, and they're refusing to do so, right? So then you start to feel like, well, what do I have to bring to the table? And that's what this energy reminds me of sometimes. The Nine of Wands, like I say to people, it's like the person has this wand and they're holding on to it tightly, right? And it's like they're blind to the fact that they have so many others behind them. So that could be resources, talents, abilities, or they might feel like this is the only one that they have, like that's the only leg they have to stand on, right? That, oh, if I go to them and say I need a raise, or hey guys, you're giving me too much work, could you give some of this work to someone else, right? To help make, my day, my life a little easier because I'm overwhelmed. You might not feel like you have the right to say that, because you feel, oh, well, this is all I've contributed to the company. But realistically, you've contributed a lot more. You just don't realize it, So that could be how that's playing out there. All right, and lastly, we have a Mudra card to get to. So for those of you who don't know, I've been pulling Mudra cards for all the signs this year. And basically, a Mudra is a gesture you make with your hand. And their purpose is to help clear blockages, sometimes physical, mental, emotional, you name it. And basically, each different mudra helps clear a different type of blockage. And this one that you got is the Bhramara Mudra, and the keyword for it is harmony. This is the mudra itself, and basically you would hold it for 5 minutes. If you're used to meditating more often, then maybe 30 to 45 minutes even. But yeah, usually you want to go with at least 5 minutes. And just flipping the card around here. Hold it up so you guys could pause it or take a screenshot if you want to read about it a little bit more. But yeah, let me just move it up a bit so you can get the bottom part as well. As you could see, for benefits, it says improves the health of the lungs and large intestine, balances the immune system, particularly in cases of immune overreaction, reduces allergic reactions to food and pollen, soothes cough and irritated lungs. So, depending on where you are, this might actually be a really helpful one for you if you guys suffer spring allergies. So, what I'll do is I'll put this in the actual description of the video, as always, so you guys can check it out if you wanted to, look into it a bit more. Aside from that, if you guys want to book a personal reading, you could find that details on that in the description as well. And you could also follow me on Instagram, where we have a little bit more fun with tarot and astrology there. But if not, I'll see you guys next month. All right, bye.